Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om, pranams to you all. By the abundant grace of Param Pujya Purushottam Papa, today 20th day, we are going to read the chapter 17, Taraknath Temple. The Bengali sadhu was standing simply staring at the spectacle. At last, coming to himself, he suggested they might go out of the room, as other spots had also to be visited. The Bengali sadhu was standing simply staring at the spectacle. At last, coming to himself, he suggested they might go out of the room, as other spots had also to be visited. Most reluctantly, Ramdas got up and came out of that heavenly place. Next, the sadhu guided him, and he was in a state of complete dreaminess of the time, to a garden behind the room and pointed to a cluster of 5 trees called Panchavati, around which a circular platform of earth and stones was raised. Here the Paramahamsa used to sit frequently and offer upadesh to his disciples, explained the sadhu. Then he led the way to a small hut wherein he said the saint used to sit in samadhi or deep meditation of his favorite idol Mother Kali. O Ramdas, thy eyes are indeed blessed by these sights. Flow on tears, warm with the glow of supreme happiness. Now, the Bengali sadhu proposed to take him on a visit to a young sannyasi, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. Agreeing, he was escorted and led away from the temple site for about a mile, where 2 sannyasis were found busy worshipping in front of the picture of the Paramahamsa and Kali, placed in a small mandir. Ramdas and the sadhu, on prostrating before the sannyasis, were invited to sit inside the temple. The puja over, they were given some prasad, on partaking of which they sought permission to depart. Coming back to the Kali temple, the Bengali sannyasi led the 2 sadhus to the banks of the Ganges, where the steamboat jetty was situated. From this place, the sannyasi pointed out the place called Belur Mutt on the other side of the Ganges. He procured tickets for Ramdas and the sadhura and conducted them to the steamboat, which they duly boarded. But before leaving, he suggested that when traveling onwards by rail, they might make a halt at a shrine called Taraknath or Tarakeshwar, a place worth visiting. This suggestion was kept in mind since it came from Ram himself, whose kindness was left at every step of his most marvelous and memorable pilgrimage. In due course, both the sadhus landed on the opposite side of the Ganges. A walk about 2 furlongs brought them to a small temple where there resided a number of young men belonging to different parts of India. One of them took the sadhus inside the temple, in which a painting of the Paramahamsa was placed for daily worship. On inquiry, it was found that the temple was erected over the ashes of Sri Ramakrishna. Then the sadhus visited the beautiful samadhis raised over the remains of Swami Vivekananda and Holy Mother that is wife of Sri Ramakrishna. Ramdas, wishing to spend a night at the mutt, expressed his desire to the friends of the place, but was told that as there was no accommodation, it was not possible to accede to his request. It was all the wish of Ram, who does everything for good. There they proceeded, thence they proceeded to the nearest railway station and got into a train going west. And one morning they found themselves at the Tarakeshwar station where they alighted. Taraknath, in which it is said a Shivalinga had its spontaneous birth, breaking up the roots of a Pamira tree. Hence the name Taraknath. After bath and darshan, the sadhus went out to the city. Making enquiries, they learnt that some liberal Raja was feeding 40 to 50 sadhus every day with a dinner. Coming to the place, they waited along with many others outside the Dharmashala. About 11 o'clock, an old friend, the manager of the kshetra, called in the sadhus, counting the number required, and led them in one by one. On a long veranda in 2 rows facing each other, all the sadhus sat down, and leafy plates were placed before them. When the food was being served, a new sadhu of middle age came in and demanded food. The manager of the kshetra at first refused to take him in, as the number to be fed was complete. But at the mention of the fact by the sadhu that he had not had meals for 2 days past, he was also offered a leaf, and he sat down at a place which happened to be just opposite to Ramdas. The dinner consisted of wheat puris, pretty thick and about 16 inches in diameter, some bhaji or curry, and sweets. At first, each was served with 2 puris and sweets, etc. The puris, having been prepared out of mill-made mixed wheat flour, were flexible like rubber. Ramdas was wanting in teeth. In all, he had not half a dozen in his mouth. Even those who had the full complement had to struggle hard with the puris before they could be thrust down the throat. Ramdas' case was hence unique. Now the sadhu, the latest arrival for the dinner, sitting in front, was observed to have finished his share in less than 2 minutes. He was served again with 4 puris, which also disappeared in a trice. Again 4 more, and they met with the same fate. The sadhu was looking up for more. At this juncture, the old friend ordered the cook to fetch out the whole stock of puris from the kitchen. Then he approached the sadhu and said, "Maharaj, you may take as many as you like." And he served 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and on, until he continued 20. So still the sadhu would not stop. 4 more and the friend stopped, assuring the sadhu that he shall have some more after finishing those already served. At this stage, the attention of all sadhus was directed towards this voracious eater. All commenced to watch his eating process. But for himself, the sadhu was calm and determined. Puri after puri disappeared. It mattered not for him what was going on around him. At every 4 or 5 puris, he was drinking water out of a long brass pot he had by his side. Most of the sadhus present there could not eat more than 4 each. The record with some did not exceed 6 puris. But the phenomenal sadhu had been served in all 34 puris. He was also served more bhaji or curry and sweets. He ate them all with one pot full of water into the bargain. The affair is narrated here not out of any disrespect to the sadhu, but to apprise the reader of the case of a man who had a tremendous appetite, showing forth the wonderful Maya of Ram. After 2 days' stay at the shrine, Ramdas and Sadhu Ram left the station and came to Gaya, where they obtained darshan in the temple and had a bath in the holy river Falguni. The next day, they started and reached the famous shrine of the north, that is Kashi. Kashi is also called Benares. So, by unbounded grace of Papa, he made us possible to go through chapter by chapter. May beloved Papa bless us all to be aware of His presence in all beings, creatures and things. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om. Pranams to you all. Hari Om.